So, hello and welcome to another episode of the Leaders in STEM podcast from Intergage. My name is Paul Moss, and I'm the Business Development and Partnerships Director here at Intergage. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Nicky Bedwell. Say hi, Nicky.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicky. I'm Business Development Manager here at Intoware, and I would like to introduce you to today's guest on the podcast. This is Brad Flook. He is Sales Director at Intoware. He's been there for about 18 months now, and he's got over 20 years of business management and development experience and has a real passion for helping companies to engage with new technology. So, just to start off with, we'd like to ask Brad a bit about your background and how you kind of came to be in this industry. So, take it away, Brad.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for the very nice introduction, Nikki. That was very nice. My background covers document management and software as a whole, and it covered every aspect. I joined the working world in microfilm, which shows my age a little bit because it was a microfilm company when I joined it. But I was very lucky. I joined the company off the back of the end of my education, and the microfilming industry was obviously moving to document management, which was more focused around scanning. So document scanners had come out, and the guy who owned the company at the time gave me the task of starting to convert our clients who had historically used microfilm to document scanning.
Mhm.
And this was long before cloud existed and that.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of taking hard copy paper, digitizing it, and then obviously producing it on CD-ROM. And if you're old enough, CD-ROM jukeboxes. So people could still search locally. They could search across multiple information and still find it. So that was a good introduction to the world. And I spent 9 years at that company, which is a local company based in Bristol called BMI. And then I joined a company called Hobbs Reprographics, which predominantly were a print company and reprographics company, and dealt with architects, engineer, construction companies, mainly focused around at the time the operational and technical side of their businesses. So a lot of plan printing, a lot of tender printing, planning applications, etc., etc. I was very lucky there because I met a great guy who brought me into the company, a gentleman called Kieran O'Brien, who was a real mentor for me. My first task was setting up the business in Bristol, which I'm sure everyone that listening can tell my accent. I'm a local boy to Bristol. And that was a great experience because he really taught me how to operate a business, how to run a business, how to be a leader, not a manager, I guess. And that Bristol business was very, very successful and still going. And, over the 15 years almost I spent with Hobbs, I grew up with the company, took on regional roles, eventually joined the board. And in that time, in that 15 years, the company itself obviously went through an evolution because operational print and technical print was very, very popular coming out the back of the 90s and into the noughties. Then came the digital age, then came cloud computing, project collaboration systems, higher bandwidth on emails, and naturally that shrank operational and technical print. Even tablets, being able to view documents and look at drawings and plans completely changed the business. So the business itself evolved in that period of time. And where we were predominantly a print company, we moved into things like document management and document scanning. We moved into 3D point cloud scanning, so digital twins. We moved into CGIs and walkthroughs for companies. We moved into 3D prints, opening the first 3D print bureaus in the UK. And we offered another host of services like large format display graphics printing and those sorts of things as well, and really focused on clients, I suppose, desire to win work and marketing print and that sort of thing that was still really big, especially coming out of like the 2008 and 2009 recession. So the business itself, may have stood still from the outside in, but it went for a huge evolution in that period. And I suppose that taught me a lot about business and how businesses, both selling and buying have to evolve quickly because technology changes things so quick. So yeah, and then after that, unfortunately with the pandemic, Hobbs had to kind of reassess and change the way it worked. I took a little bit of a break, spent some time supporting a company called BKT, and then eventually joined Intoware. And Intoware is where I find myself today.
Perfect. Well, on that note, tell us a bit more about Intoware, what you do, your solutions, etc.
Yeah. So Intoware offers one product really, and it's called Workflow Plus. And Workflow Plus is a digital workflow and task platform. What that gives people the ability to do is create digital processes and take a standard process and create it into a digital process or a digital workflow. Very simplistic to create your workflows. We can ingest workflows from other platforms, but if you look at it in its out the box kind of features, very, very simple, drag and drop, build your workflows. When you build your workflows and then publish your workflows, you can then manage your workflows on the control and management side of it. So that would allow me then to create workflows and distribute it across multiple teams, multiple individuals, multiple times. So again, if you had a consistent thing like a health and safety check or a walkthrough, you could set it on a scheduled event. And then once it's scheduled and done, the platform itself comes with app first ready technology as well. So that could be iOS, that could be Android, or it can even be things like wearables like headsets or head mounted tablets or RealWear devices. And then it's really based around the user experience. So that operator or a person who's going to go onto the cold face or on the shop floor and run this process can then follow in easy steps, complete the process and finish the process all digitally. But what the real magic is as it's being done, it collects data. So as they're following those steps, it picks up how long it takes, where they're doing it, what information they've collated, what information they've corrected. And it can also take things like photographs and videos to then add to the workflow and the task they've completed. And the real excellent bit for an operator and that sort of thing is where you look at archaic processes now, they go out and complete the task and then they have to go back and type up the report. Because Workflow Plus is working in the background and it's taking all that data, it's building the report in real time as well. So as soon as they complete, that report can be sent off to whoever or it's just available for review straight away. So that's what Workflow Plus does. And, that's Intoware's main product.
Cool. So obviously it's a massive time saver for the kind of end users who are actually using software. What other kind of main challenges or problems does it help solve for your customers?
So yeah, you're right, Nicky. I think time saving and productivity gains are huge. Auditability is massive because everything is tracked. So easy examples are things like health and safety, walkthroughs, and compliance. At the moment, a lot of businesses still use pen and paper. They're going out to do operational procedures, operational processes, and the information is not consistent. How people write things down. You and I may do the same thing, Nicky, see the same things. Doesn't mean we're going to describe it exactly
Yeah.
the same way. Other things that happen is reports are done and then lost, and the information's gone. The paper doesn't get processed; it sits on someone's desk. So, because Workflow Plus is picking all that up instantly, that information and data is available in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So, not only is the operator completing the report, any management structure or supervisor can see what's being done, can see that information and see that data at the same time. So that auditability and compliance in asset inspections, engineering work, corrections, maintenance is massive because instantly all that information is available and all that information is reported. But because it's a smart platform as well, you can set actions off of what's being done. So if there is a problem, if you do a walkthrough or you do some sort of inspection and you can see any sort of problem, you can instantly create a knock-on event, which could be the correction of that problem. So
Mm-hmm.
that instantly goes on to the next person and then creates that. So again, that productivity gain and time gain is massive. But again, money's safe from compliance. So when there is health and safety issues or, a loss of time accident and that sort of thing, the business itself has that full audit trail. So they can make sure that people have got the right protective equipment. They're doing the right things. If they're working at height, they've got the right equipment. If they're working near live rail or anything like those sorts of problems that people have when they're in a very, industrial environment, the company can put all the information into a digital workflow and make sure that employee is fully informed and making the right decision. And if they don't make the right decision, or if they don't have that, again, you can make sure it's a fail path instantly and tell the employee what to do. So it takes away a lot of that, the problems. And I suppose another big one for us at the moment is things like the skills gap. Our customers are coming to us constantly and saying, we've got these great engineers, these great people that have been with the business 20, 25, 30 years, and they've got such a wealth of knowledge. But naturally, through attrition, these people are now retiring, leaving for whatever reason, and it's educating the next generation through. So yes, the senior engineer probably in a digital instruction step doesn't need to be told exactly how to do each step because they know their job very, very well. But the data they pick up from doing each step is gold dust for the next generation, because then you can then process those workflows, put them into a training environment, take all the business intelligence and analytics you've gained from the senior engineer, and give these people a almost real world environment to then go off and perform these tasks in a training environment. So that's a massive plus for us. But the business as a whole gain from business intelligence and analytics as well. You don't get anything from paper. You don't get anything from the pen. You don't get a great deal from lots of silo systems like Word, Excel being used just to track information. Suddenly our clients are taking these huge data lakes that are being informed and thinking, well, what can we learn? How can we be a better business? Popping it into things like Power BI, really generating very, very good business intelligence, and then evolving their business to fit by, real-time data that's giving them instruction. So that way they can see benefits to their commercial output. Could they be more competitive in the market? Should they be charging more? Should they be charging less? They're saving times, reducing their costs, reducing their expense, reducing their compliance, and reducing their wastage, which is naturally adding to the bottom line. So the businesses can evolve dramatically and very quickly with that. So that's just a few of the use cases we see that our clients are benefiting from now.
Yeah, so it seems like it's having an impact on pretty much every aspect of the business in terms of kind of profitability, safety, time saving. It's absolutely brilliant. We talked about some of the use cases, but is there anything particularly interesting or niche or anything really unusual that you've come across that the software has helped with?
I think for the wider market, it's the technology it can be used on as well, which I think's which grabs attention. So I'd say a lot of our customers at the moment are obviously producing these workflows and managing these workflows from, phones, tablets, maybe desktop as well. But we also do things on things like the RealWear devices, which are the headsets. So they use like an augmented reality slash assisted reality. So where that's quite unique for customers, there is environments where you need to be hands-free.
Yeah.
And, we find specific use cases with our customers where actually if said engineer or said inspector or et cetera, could have their hands free, but still be following the task, still be collating the data, and still be producing the business intelligent information, and that'd be a massive benefit. So, using devices like the real world device nav 500 and the 520, some of our customers are going out and they're producing these workflows, they're following these workflows through using this, having this assisted reality supporting them, following the steps through. But instead of obviously swiping your finger and using your finger as you would on a phone or a tablet, they're dictating to it and using their voice commands to go to the next stage. So again, what we find is a customer then finds multiple use cases, and there's multiple use cases, use Workflow Plus, but use it on various different tech to still get the end result they really, really require. So using multiple tech, using those sorts of things are very, very unique. So again, it gives people such a great opportunity to really look at their business. And I think one of the bigger benefits of Workflow Plus is it's so flexible. So customers buy it for a specific use case. But what you will find is because you can manage and create these workflows so easily, it can expand to multiple areas of the business.
Cool. And is it a particularly competitive marketplace? Is there anyone else doing exactly what you do?
Yeah, there's other businesses. I think there's different ways of collecting data. There's different kinds of form filling softwares out there where companies are given the ability to create processes and managing processes I think where Workflow Plus sits above is user experience. One of the toughest things in what we do is digital transformation, and it's change management. So you're asking people that do a job to change the way they do that job, which in itself can be challenging for businesses to get that adoption and
Mhm.
get that deployed across it. But because ours is user experience focused, it's actually making people's life easier. So I think where we see a competitive market in some areas, we also see people challenging us by what they're already doing internally. And, does this add more value? Does this make our life easier? So not what you'd class as a direct competitor, but something we have to show value against. And because user experience, that instant reporting and things like that are actually making people's life easier. And using the app is as simple as using any other app. It is basically press the button, follow the answers, follow the questions, put in the information very, very simplistically. We do see our products, doing very, very well in the market because it's adopted by the actual team on the coalface.
Yeah, which is so important because someone higher up can make a decision that this is something we need to do and implement it. But if the user experience isn't good, your end users are never going to use it, and it will be a wasted investment at the end of the day.
Yeah, we've seen a lot
Yeah.
of that, Brad, and I'm sure you'll empathize with this experience as a sales director. People implementing CRM systems and things, changing up things for the sales team. You've normally got people that are very resistant to that change because they think a, it's the boss spying on them, and B, it's just gonna make their life more difficult. Whereas I guess like your software, if those successful onboardings and adoptions are really driven by absolutely showing your colleagues that they're going to save time, whether it's in a sales environment, be more effective at their job and sell more, or whether it's in an operational environment, it just makes their life a lot easier. So, I mean, I got a question. How do you go about onboarding your clients? I mean, is there, taking them on that journey? Because it's all well and good selling something, but you need to be, part of the selling process is to provide a level of confidence that people, it's not going to be tough to use the product.
Yeah, it's an important part of it. If I was to look at the mid-tier and I suppose enterprise size sort of style of clients, where, like I said, 90% of the use cases we look at are operational based, so they're being done in, utilities, manufacturing, oil and gas, energy, those sorts of industries. It's very much about not a complete hit straight away. So it's very, very rare that a customer will come to us and say, I've got 600 people that need to do X amount of processes. Can we buy it and move forward? There will be some sort of, I suppose, proof of concept, some sort of maybe supported field trial that we go through with these businesses. And a lot of it's to understand, I suppose, how the business can consume it, financially and operationally. There's a lot to do with the IT as well and the architecture. Obviously, lots of systems already exist, and we don't want to create an extra task for people. We want to integrate Workflow Plus. And Workflow Plus is a great platform. It'll integrate with systems like SAP, IBM Maximo, BuildMe, other ERP systems, CRM systems as well. So you get that one true line of data still. But then that comes that next bit that you mentioned, Paul, which is, well, at this stage, it's not great. It's great to speak to IT. It's great to speak to senior management, but we need to speak to the people that are going to use it.
Yeah.
And there's twofold. We want to take the process out to people and get people's feedback. And we want to understand the use cases. We want to understand how the workflow works and how you can make it consistent for someone actually completing the task. And like you said, making their job easy. So it's getting early adoption, early engagement, and getting early feedback from people that are going to be using Workflow Plus in its most critical form, which is executing the workflows. So that's proved very, very popular. And what it does is it throws up some really interesting things because for an example, processes could have been in place for 10, 15 years and they're being done on pen and paper and they work in a certain order very, very well. Yet suddenly you do it into a digital format, and you do it into a digital process, and you collect data and you mirror data through the flow. Actually, there's a better way of doing it. So what you'll find in these processes, you'll go through it, you have a training session, you work with them to build the flow, you distribute the flow out to the team, you see it, it's almost done exactly the same way as the original. However, we could improve it here, here, and here. So that
Right.
person then feeds that back and we evolve it. And then we go back to the market, we go back to the coal face, and we go back out into the shop floor and we test it again.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you get something that they're involved in, they've bought into, they're actually critiquing how it's going to work going forward. And that's how we get that early adoption. And then what we look for is we work on that one use case. We talk about technology again. Is phone and tablet right? Is a RealWear device or a headset the right way to go forward? And then we evolve and find extra use cases as well. So that's how we've seen success, and that's how we see it, the product, I suppose, landing and expanding into businesses and getting people to buy into it as early as possible.
So in a sense, I think what you've described is a process whereby you're collaborating with your customer or your prospect together to essentially audit where they're at and how they do things today. And that in and of itself is going to highlight opportunities for improvement. And then, you know, from the selling perspective, I guess you're saying, well, okay, you know, steps A, B, and C are working pretty well, but steps D, E, and F, you know, there's room for improvement here. And this is where we can have an impact. Is that the sort of approach you would tend to take then, Brad?
Yeah, it is. I think you know, we engage with our customers at every level because again, it comes back to that, it's change management, it's operational change. So if you're doing something like that, it has to have a added value benefit to that business and maybe multiple added benefits. So that's it. It's about getting the most out of the platform as early as possible. What we find is the more people that use it, the stickier the platform becomes for our customers and the more it'll get used across the business. And then it's like I said, it's just helping the rest of the business then see the downstream benefits like the business intelligence and the analytics on top of that. So suddenly you've got people going out there and doing that, and you're reducing their time massively. We talk to a lot of companies and a lot of these people that are doing the inspections or doing said procedure. And out of a 5 day week, they're doing their inspections for 3.5, 4 days. They're then spending one complete day updating the procedures, you know, updating what they've done, updating what they've done on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And again, that has a knock-on effect every time someone has a day sick or a day's holiday, etc. So it just goes further and further back. And across the multiple teams, that percentage gets higher and higher and higher all the way through. Suddenly, it's all being done instantly. Suddenly, not only is the procedure easy to follow, not only are these workflows have digital assets, you're helping people with videos, training, documents, plans, drawings, all that information is there to make their life so easy. Yet they've never got to go back and type it up again because it's instant reporting. And again, the business is benefiting from that real-time data streaming out. So I think as like you said, as people pick it up, as they evolve it, as they critique it, and as they see the flexibility of it, they can really then start to see the benefits. And that basically spirals through the business or our customer's business. And then multiple people start to see that value.
Excellent. So you mentioned, Brad, that you know you've been with the business about 18 months and you came out of the sort of reprographics and that area, and obviously that in and of itself has gone through some massive changes as the whole world's become more digital. What's been the situation in terms of Intoware's approach to business and the marketplace as we've worked through the pandemic and we've sort of come out the other side? I mean, how has it affected the way that the business sort of set about its business before the pandemic or early doors, and what's changed subsequently as we've come out of the other side of that?
Yeah, I think the pandemic, as far as Interware is concerned, is definitely heightened the need for remote working in whatever way you do it. And it's definitely created an environment where people look at it and say, well, if you change the norm, how can our business react? How can our business adapt to what's changed? So I think that's helped us. But like anything in life, you go through a stage where there's a massive uptick of new technology. You know, people naturally see it. Then there's that curve of, you know, is it right for us and what's the best use case and how do we get the most value out of it? And I think the pandemic gave us that upward curve, not just Workflow Plus and Intoware's offering, but you know, things like the RealWear device, things like remote expert solutions or video chats and video calls, etc., etc. Anything that allowed people to join and communicate in a remote sense. as we've gone through the pandemic and come out the pandemic and we come out the other stage, we still now see that curve, and that curve's on its way back up again now, which is where people are actually saying, I'm not reacting to something like they did the pandemic. They're looking at something and think, well, how can we proactively be better? What have we learned out the last 3 years? And that's where we see a lot of our clients, and a lot of our clients have employed teams, whether it's in digital transformation and XR and those sorts of environments. They've employed specialists, they've employed people that understand what's in the market and are ready to be educated about the possibilities of what's new in the market. And those are the sorts of people we talk to quite regularly in our customers to help evolve that offering going forward. And I think what our
Yeah.
customers have learned and what we've learned is if we keep adapting our product to the needs that people have and the need to gather data and information and give people the ability to work remotely, then obviously we'll find more pickup. And I think that's probably what Intoware and what I've seen in the 18 months. And obviously I joined after the pandemic, but I kind of understand the business as it was before the pandemic. But
Yeah.
naturally, that's what we've seen. And most technologies, pandemic or no pandemic, go for that stage of a real uptake, a drop off, and then a real, well, where does it fit with us and where does it fit in our business going forward? And I think that's where we're on that incline
Yeah.
now. And we're very, very, very happy about where we are, but we're very, very excited, I think, about the next couple of years as more and more businesses go into this digital change.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a in many respects, the pandemic, as challenging as it was for most businesses and people on a personal basis, I think what it's done is it's catalyzed and accelerated a lot of the business and societal changes that were already taking place. It just made them happen two or three times more quickly. And the fact that we're having this meeting now in the virtual
Yeah.
space, some of us in tech were doing that 10, 15 years ago, but most people weren't. And now it's become part of the course. And I think it's just opened people's minds to the possibilities, really. So I think, yeah, like you said, I think we're all in a good place as a result of that, in spite of the challenges that the pandemic, laid on our shoulders. So you mentioned this a little bit earlier during the conversation about skills and the skills shortage. Like you, Brad, I spend my days talking to the leaders of industrial businesses, and along with things like supply chain disruption, raw materials costs, and energy costs, the skills shortage is the next thing on everybody's agenda. It's one of their top three pain points, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's right across all of the sectors that I talk to. I mean, are you experiencing the same thing?
Yeah, I think, yeah, 100%. Our clients, I think a skill shortage and compliance are two of the biggest things on our clients' agenda at the moment. And the skill shortage one is one where we really fit in with businesses. I think what challenges them in our environment, and I come back to that kind of operational processes and what people are doing on the shop floor, coal face, out on the site, etc., is the ability to take the senior generation and pass it on to the people coming through and coming into the business. And that's what we can give people. We can give them educated based workflows. So I come back to what I said earlier in the conversation about critiquing things when we're at proof of concept stage, critiquing them when we're doing a supported field trial.
Yeah.
That's not to stop the critiquing at all. This workflow plus goes with version control. So I look at some of our customers and they've created workflows for inspections or maintenance. And it's on version 16, 17, 18, 19, because they're seeing better ways of working. Then they're taking all that information, all that data, all that process, and then passing it to someone who, is come fresh into the business. And then instantly that person can do 90% of that procedure just following that workflow through. And again, because the software itself and Workflow Plus is, you can schedule it across teams, you can still have supervisors signing off at each stage. So if I was that
Yeah.
junior coming in, Paul, and you're that senior engineer, and I get through 25%, you may want to review that, look at what I've done, sign it off, check that everything's been done, and then I go on to the next stage. But what we've also seen, and we've seen this with clients in the US, and we've seen it with other customers as well, is, well, what about saving time? What about saving the ability for senior engineers having to go to site to see every junior engineer's work? So yes, the
Right.
workflow helps with that dramatically. But what happens when you really hit a hurdle? And that hurdle is very hard to get over. Yes, you can see my workflow, but what we've also done, we've partnered with remote expert solutions. So for your phone and tablet and for your headset, I can actually call you during the workflow. You can then see everything I can see. You can then help me and support me and take
Right.
control. You can sign off the procedure live and see the workflow I'm doing. You can take turn and dictate on my camera. You can point things out to me. And again, you imagine that with the headsets I was talking about, your hands free as well. So the person at the other end on a, no different to this call is seeing everything I'm doing, instructing me verbally through the thing. And then I'm completing my workflow in conjunction with my senior person and tying it off. Businesses were seeing this where they couldn't send junior operators, junior engineers out to site without senior support. So that senior engineer could be going on 15, 16, 17 trips. Like I said, we're in oil and gas. A trip out to the North Sea or a trip out to the where
Not
it's not
easy,
a
is
quick
it?
thing.
No.
It's not a quick one. Suddenly, from their desktop, you could give Workflow Plus and an RE solution to these juniors. And if they hit that stumbling block, you can instantly connect. So that's a massive carbon thumbs up. It was a
Mm.
massive cost
Yeah.
savings. We were
Yeah.
saving some companies thousands and thousands of pounds just in flights and travels and trains.
So
And
they've got their
suddenly,
mentor sitting on their shoulder, essentially, in a virtual sense.
yeah, and again,
Yeah, that's
it's
great.
again other business use cases on that evolve as well, like using local engineers. So when you're a worldwide company, instead of flying people all over, you can use local engineers to support the process and do it as a team. And then
Yeah.
you're following the workflow through using the remote expert solution to then support that procedure. So suddenly, not only are you saving time, but it's productivity because the senior engineer has to travel, then you have to wait for them to travel there and travel back. And like you were saying, it's no different to this call. Everything gets moved back because of diaries. Everything gets moved back because of schedules, because you have to
Yeah.
travel here, you have to travel there. That adds 5 hours to the day. Suddenly, everything's instant, everything's done quickly, and you're giving junior engineers the same opportunity as a senior engineer to complete tasks and learn. So it's a massive thing we see as a skill gap. And it's ticking those boxes off massively for businesses at the moment because it's evolving them so quickly and evolving
That's
these young
fantastic.
people coming through. Yeah, it's
So you,
excellent.
I wanted to pick up on another thing because I've been a bit of a tech geek myself. You mentioned the digital twin situation. So, as well as having, let's say Dave, he's been a senior engineer for 25 years, sitting on the shoulder, virtually speaking, of a new engineer that's come through, and that new engineer's out on site. I mean, tell me about the digital twin thing. So, I guess you can kind of almost double up the power of this. If what are they seeing a sort of a virtual or an XR representation of the component that they're supposed to be inspecting or working on in front of them as well? How does that all work?
I think there's two things that the digital twin side of my past was with previous company
Oh,
Hobbs. So I'll
okay,
just
okay,
highlight that. I'll
understood.
highlight that bit. But obviously, assisted reality in 2D and augmented reality, it can be used in procedures. Yes, you can use the 3D information available to you and use something like an augmented reality style view of what you're going to do in a workflow. And you can use those on different kinds of headsets. You may look at something slightly different to assisted reality to achieve that. But there's lots of longer term use cases we've discussed with customers like robotics completing inspections and those sorts of things as well, which the flows and the information collated would be perfect for Workflow Plus. But using things like digital twins to then map out the places and map out the
Right.
areas. But yeah, it's still, I think one of the biggest challenges I'll bring it back to is evolution, not revolution, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's amazing how many businesses are still at that first stage and those next steps, and then starting to gather those streams of data and gather the information. And again, the Internet of Things, digital twins, all these are good things that are happening in manufacturing at the moment. What Workflow Plus allows people to do is obviously bring those things together because it's easily integrated, it's API ready, you can hook things up. So there's lots of different ways businesses can work. But like I said, it's still early stages for a lot of businesses, and they're still going through that stage of really digitizing their procedures.
Fair enough. So we talked about the skill shortage within your prospect base and your customer base, and how your solutions help there. But, let's talk about Intoware's business. How have you built your team, and how do you recruit and retain talent, whether it's on the commercial side that you're responsible for, or on, the product management, product development, and sort of technical side of the business, Brad?
Yeah, like I said, we've got a very good UK-based team. Our office is in Nottingham, and we look after our product, and we do all the work in house ourselves. And we're very proud of that, and we're very proud of our own product, sort of thing. So yeah, we've got an evolving team, and we take on good people. I think a lot of people like the remote working. We have an office environment available for people. But we've also got the ability for these people to work from home. And I've seen in my time with Interware that evolved the team. The team was a little bit more Nottingham centric, but has evolved over time, where we've got people all right across the country, especially on the development and operational side of things as well. And like I said, I think it's given people that real world experience they get from us, because the constant evolution of the product, and then the constant flexibility of the product, as in, the product itself is great, but it's how a customer is going to use it where it really sees its value.
Mm,
And so far, with all the different customers we've dealt with, no one uses it exactly the same, because everyone has their
right.
own operational procedures, they have their own challenges, they have their own internal architecture, they have their own internal needs. And it's amazing. You come away from maybe compliance and health and safety, where you do see kind of that consistency, but businesses operate the way they feel that's right for their business, if that makes sense. So this gives all these people that real world experience, and the evolving the product to fit these clients, and to make it the right product for them. And I think that's where they hold the value in what we can offer, because we are still a growing business, and naturally we see the challenges that every business sees, that there is bigger companies in the software world that may be able to offer other things that we can't at this time. But I think we offer a very, very positive environment. We accountability is great as well. I think there's a trust in our business that allows people to go away and do their good work, and do their own
Right.
work in their environment, which helps. And I think there's a lot of pride in what the team has done to build the product, and the sort of companies that are picking this product up now and seeing it as a long-term benefit to large international businesses. And I think on the business development side is, we take a team who has to evolve. There's a few of us in the sales team at the moment, and what we have to understand is how best to put our offering over, which
Right.
is a skill in itself, I think. And I think we're helping people with that, because, like I said, it deals with transformational management, it deals with change management. And like I said, not every business operates exactly the same way.
Yeah.
That in itself creates a complicated sales process, which,
Mm.
for me, joining the business took a little bit of time to understand how best to communicate to people. That first stage when you go and have that first call, how can we condense the value added benefits into a very small amount of time? And how could we demo the product at a top level, which really showed the use case of how easy it is to use. You can use it on multiple technologies, etc., etc. And I think we're constantly getting better on that. We've got some very, very good people, and we've got a very, very good CEO in Keith Tilley, who's helping each of those individuals move the business on.
That's fantastic. I mean, you're in a very exciting world, but you're also in a world, I guess, where there's a lot of noise. Digital transformation is a huge buzz phrase in almost every B2B organization sector. And in my experience, there's a lot of, putting it politely, a lot of BS and a lot of over egging the pudding and a lot of hype. And
Yeah.
if you asked 100 people what digital transformation, or another buzz phrase that we're all familiar with these days, industry 4.0, what does that mean?
Hmm.
You'll get 100 different answers from 100 different people. If you boiled it down to the absolute distilled essence of what it means to you and it means to your customers, Brad, what is digital transformation? What is it about?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Paul. I think it is. It's funny. I remember my first digital transformational project was taking a old school till in one of our old companies and moving it to a digital based deal. You know,
Right.
it was less paper.
Yeah.
You know, you look at cafes or places now that don't accept cash. They just take switch payments as digital transformation. You know, just collecting information on the paper, but then suddenly using an interactive PDF, digital transformation. It is such a wide phrase. I think for me, and I think for our customers, and I think for Intoware as a whole at the moment, it's operationalizing it. You know, where is the value in it, and what are you trying to achieve at the end?
Right.
If you can understand that with businesses, because yes, businesses will come and we want to do digital transformation, that's fine. What do you want to achieve, and what does success look like for this procedure? If
Yeah.
you can understand those things with customers and you can operationalize it into a way that it works and it will add value to the business and you can see a step-by-step process to get there, I think that's what digital transformation means. And I think even with our products, where our product is consistent, the need changes consistently as we speak to those customers.
Yeah.
But what we have to do is sit down and really understand of what you want to do, how do you want to do it, and effectively what is the end result, which again sounds very simple with three questions, but those questions create sub questions and sub answers and those sorts of things. But I think that's very, very important. And I think a lot of that and a lot of value we offer comes from that early engagement, that early conversation. We spoke about it briefly at the beginning of the conversation, which was, yeah, how do we go in and understand that business? What are they looking to do? What's their architecture in the business? What information do they already have? Some businesses have
Yeah.
lots of silo systems creating digital information already. Can Workflow Plus be a piece in the puzzle there to make all that flow in and then flow back? And then how are they going to use it? Who's actually going to collect the data? You know, that's the
Right.
big question. A lot of people, who's the person that's actually going to be collecting the data? In our world, 9 times out of 10, that's someone who's doing an industrial job, doing an industrial task, et
Mm.
cetera, et cetera. So they're not in the best environment to collect it. So we need to think on user experience. We need to think how they're going to use it. What's the right technology for them to use it? And I think that's it because it is such a wide phrase. It is such a wide phrase. And for us, it's still about putting the person in the middle and thinking about how do you collect that data? How do we make that person's
Yeah.
life easier? And what does the business really want from digital transformation? Is it savings? Is it better compliance? Is it business intelligence? And then understanding those needs and showing them how they can join those dots together.
Fantastic. So, talking about your business, you lead the charge in terms of sales and business development for Intoware. You know,
Yeah.
how's the company gone about achieving its growth to date? I mean, has it relied on word of mouth, or is it been marketing led, or kind of boots on the ground led in terms of the sales function? How's
think
that work for you?
Yeah, like I said, I think Intoware obviously has started off with a little bit of word of mouth, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of promoting its products on social, but that's evolved over time. You know, we've got a very strong marketing leader now who's joined the company. Who joined the company at a similar sort of time as I did,
Right.
and you know, we're doing a lot more work in the socials. We've created a lot of ebooks because I suppose, like anything, like we're talking about, you think over that time, you know, we talked about the pandemic and coming through. Yeah, as a business has learned so much by working with our customers. You know, we've started to see how digital transformations affected things. We've started to see what the benefits are. You sell something to someone and they evolve it and they deploy it on, you know, January the 1st, 2021. To see the true results takes time in itself because they
Yeah.
start to see the results as time goes by, as people use it more, as they get that business intelligence, they start to see the decisions they can make to go forward and make them a more efficient business, a more compliant business. So, you know, our marketing manager, Eleanor, has come in and she's done some great work with her team around digital ebooks, talking about Industry 5.0, talking about how digital transformation can affect people in the operational procedures. So we've grown that out, which has given us more to share on socials, give us more to talk about. And like I said, as we've spoke to clients and we understand clients, as we talk about how we engage with those customers, we're trying to engage with the right people. Everyone may like digital transformation. There's people that are going to be in a certain position to really, I suppose, implement digital transformation. We want to speak to those people. So even from a sales point of view, we've evolved it from a marketing to then make sure that we're
Yeah.
passing the right information over. So we've evolved the way we communicate. We've evolved the way we use socials. We've evolved the website recently as well. That's another great thing we've done. The website that when I joined has been evolved again. Ever great work done by our marketing team, led by Eleanor. So, we as a business itself is maturing based on the information that we're gathering back from our clients, not just the ones we work with, the ones who have used us for supported field trials and proof of concept. And I suppose every conversation we have, because like I said, I come back to that, and I'm lucky enough to speak to companies all around the world about what they're trying to achieve. And it's amazing. You do see consistencies, but you also just see these unique questions, these unique challenges that come up,
Yeah,
which really make you think how you can use our platform then to evolve the way we communicate it to the wider audience.
brilliant. So, looking back over the last 18 months, and then let's say looking forward over a similar time frame, so we got a kind of a 3-year span, and you're sort of in the middle of it right now. What did you find were the biggest challenges from a business development sales perspective during your first 18 months?
I think the biggest challenge was, for me personally and for the business, it's communicating the value offering, and
Yeah,
helping people to understand that. I think that is one of the biggest things, because you are talking about lots of moving parts in the business. You're talking about lots of key things, and you're talking about, I suppose, effectively what a business does.
yeah,
You look at the three aspects we sell into, and it's great. Senior management is great, it's important, and all these sorts of things, the IT architecture. But when you get down to the crux, you're changing what a business actually does. So I think communicating out to people and helping them see the benefits they'll gain from what they're doing, and then the added value from auditability and those sorts of things has been key. And just like everything, as businesses move, I think one of the biggest challenges is just getting that commitment to move forward with
right.
these projects. They're big projects, they take time, and naturally, sometimes clients just put it off a little bit. And that's always a challenge. I think it's a challenge that most salespeople who would listen to this would recognize anyway.
Yeah,
But when
absolutely.
you're
Yeah,
dealing with a very stretched out sales procedure, and I think that's one of our biggest challenges, and something we've done well, because we've evolved the way we communicate, we've evolved the way we engage with people, and we've evolved that as a team. We just feel that we are starting to condense the sales process a little bit. And
yeah,
we have got to support field trials and proof of concepts with some very big organizations a lot quicker than we used to. So I think that's the biggest challenge. And I think going forward, that's our challenge, to keep evolving that. You can't set it, to be successful, you have to look at everything, and every single day you need to look at those sorts of things and think, well, could we do better? Is
yeah.
there a better way to communicate so people can understand our message? Because it's easy to say it in your head and you understand it 100%, but it's how well your audience receive it
Absolutely.
depends on how well they then engage with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in essence, I think you're sort of saying that, and this is a common point of conversation that I have with our own people, but also with customers, where we're trying to help them. Condensing the sales cycle and accelerating the process is really, really important. And we're all learning from every interaction we have. What are the things that people say that are causing them to slow up a bit? What are their colleagues saying to them? Because I have no doubt that there's multiple people involved in making a decision to implement Intoware solution. And it's tough, isn't it, for people in this kind of role on our side to be able to talk to those people. Um,
It's very, very
yeah,
tough. It is,
yeah,
and again, that's what I mean. Multiple stakeholders, but it's important. But the only thing I'd add is, when that diligence is done correctly, and then it does get deployed properly, it really does have that durability, which is also important. So, like I said, it's
yeah.
really just trying to make sure you're communicating correctly to the correct people to get that process along as quick as possible. But yeah, sales and timelines, they're a challenge for everyone.
Exactly. So if we roll forward, let's say, what's your 5-year plan? Where do you hope to take Intoware, and what does that mean for you if you kind of achieve those objectives?
I think our main plan is to evolve our clients now. I think that's a big part of it. I mentioned land and expand, and I think a lot of salespeople in certain environments will understand that meaning, in the sense that it's a flexible platform. So it's amazing. You can fit one use case, but you can find multiple use cases within a business where it will benefit from them. And if they're already buying the licenses and they've got multiple users as well of said product, and then you can find other multiple use cases to go. Why wouldn't you? And you can see
Yeah.
more and more benefit. And for us, that's the durability. One thing we have been very successful at as well is extending the terms of contracts. I think most businesses have used it and seen that success, where we were getting maybe 12-month contracts. We're getting more consistent 36-month contracts, which is brilliant for a
Great.
business of our size, because it gives that durability, it gives
That
that value.
security of cash flow and everything
Security,
else.
security,
Yeah,
yes, good
yeah,
word. I don't know
exactly.
where that word disappeared then. I was looking for security, it just didn't come to me. It does give that security. And I think that's what we're doing now. We've picked up some very, very good clients. So it's in its infancy, and we're working on some very high level supported field trials with them, where we're looking at multiple things. And I think for us, it's finding the right partnerships now, the right marketing strategy, and making sure that you go back to, I suppose, sales basics, where we look at the funnel, and we've seen how many customers we've engaged with, where the success has been, and how that's developed through. We just need to make sure over the next couple of years now we keep adding to the top, so we get the right ones into the middle, and we can have these good
Yeah,
conversations where they can see that value added. So if we can get
fantastic.
some of our clients involved, and we can get them taking it to the next level, and then we can bring on the right sort of mirror customers that are in a similar situation to those, I think that's what success will look like for us, and net sales growth and all the other things that go with that, which would be very positive for everyone in the team.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing that with you. So, Nicky, I think you had a couple of questions, didn't you,
Yeah,
Brad?
just a couple of wrap-up questions, bit more about you really, Brad. So when you're
Okay.
not generating new business for Intoware, what do you get up to in your spare time?
So yeah, I've got a family. I've got two children. I live in Bristol, so I've got a boy who's 10 and a girl who's 16. And so she's at college, and the boy obviously is going into year six this year, which is great. And so he'll be off to the big school next September. Massive football fan. Well, I say football, I'm a Bristol Rovers fan, which
Yeah.
has its own challenges. If you know very well, it does have its own challenges. However, a good season this year, hopefully, and and I still play football as well. I still play football myself, so try to keep that going to stay fit. And yeah, just the usual other things that I suppose a man in his early 40s does.
Fab. And how can people get in touch with you and Intoware if they like the sound of what you do and they need your support?
Yeah, that'd be great. I think our website's there as well, which is www.intoware.com,
Yeah.
which is great for information. There's great resources pages there as well, so you can find out lots. The digital ebooks I mentioned, you can find those there. A lot of videos as well, and talks about our case studies. I think that's a good positive start. They can reach out to me via LinkedIn. They can also reach out to me via my email address as well, which is bradley.flook@intoware.com. And you're very happy to help with any sort of conversation. A lot of these situations start with early engagement, where people can see something they want to do and not quite sure how to go about it. The team here can really help with that, and help you understand, I suppose, what the next step is, and what things you can do to go forward.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, Brad, thank you so much for being part of the Leaders in STEM podcast with Intergage today. You can find us on LinkedIn at Intergage Marketing Engineers, or you can find our website, marketing-engineers.co.uk. Brad, thanks very much again for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you very much. No, I appreciate it. That was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. So no, thank you, Nicky, and thank you, Paul.